Can I even do this? I honestly don't know. I still have a ton left to do. Let's see what this is gonna look like here. Okay, I am definitely liking this. I'm not even approaching the finish line yet. Booleans! It's great, I love them. Thumbs up for me. Am I even gonna need to take this to Unreal Engine? Okay, this is starting to get rad. Over the years, I've made a lot of really cool things in 3D, but this might be the most ambitious ever. But that is the thing about 3D, it's like a creative superpower. So I'm just gonna go for it. Most of the stuff I do only appeals to a very niche group of nerds who like architecture and 3D graphics, but I want to show the awesomeness of 3D to a bigger group of nerds. Possibly the biggest group of nerds? So let's build Hogwarts. Follow along with me. I think this is going to be quite the process, and I think it has the potential to be absolutely epic if I can pull it off. So all good 3D projects rely on good reference imagery, especially if you're trying to build something that actually kind of exists. So that's my first step. I had to find some good imagery, and fortunately, since Harry Potter is super popular, there's lots of good imagery out there to base my 3D model on. I even found one that's like a plan view, and this was super helpful for showing me what the floor plan of Hogwarts is supposed to be. And I know I work in computers and all that, but my nerd credentials are severely lacking when it comes to Hogwarts and Harry Potter. Once I have good reference imagery set up in my 3ds Max, I just start building. And of course I'm modeling with basic primitives and simple poly modeling tools, just trying to build out the basic massing of what Hogwarts should be. Part of this is because I'm super impatient and I want to get to a basic mass that I can start doing test renderings of and figuring out some lighting and compositions early on, because the modeling process becomes tedious for me. And to keep my mind interested, I like to get to the rendering part as quick as possible. I have no idea if this modeling is going to work in the end when I start adding details. It might come back to bite me later, but we'll see as it develops. Feel free to let me know in the comments all the things I'm doing wrong and why your modeling techniques would be way better. The modeling starts out fresh and new and exciting, but eventually it does become tedious. And this project requires a lot of modeling. In fact, at this point of the process, I'm looking at this thinking, can I even do this? This is going to take me forever, and certain parts of this are going to be really intricate and hard to create. I honestly don't know. But let's push forward and keep on modeling. Time to lock in. Okay, enough of that. I am seriously ready to set up a test rendering and see how this thing looks. I can't wait any longer. Let's see what this is gonna look like here. Ooh. Oh yeah. That looks sweet. Okay, I am definitely liking this. You know how sometimes from the very first test rendering, you look at your 3D creation and think, this is what I'm talking about. You can tell right away. Composition looking good, color scheme looking awesome. This thing has some serious potential. Now clearly there's a ton of work to do in the detailing, the modeling, but let me explain what you're seeing here. I'm using V-Ray to render. You can see I'm adjusting the light mix to get just the right balance that I want. Love the light mix. Love V-Ray. I put in basic lights. An HDRI dome is lighting the environment, and I have some direct sunlight too to add some of the green on those faces of the buildings. I put in a few V-Ray lights to add some accents. Oh, and don't forget the V-Ray environment fog, which is adding the mood and the atmospheric depth to the rendering. I think that's an important element. Other than that, it's all pretty simple. HDRI plus a few lights, set up a V-Ray camera, render, and the foundations for a fantastic finished rendering are set. Now, I've always intended to take this to Unreal Engine, but if the preview renderings in V-Ray are looking this awesome, I don't know if we're ever going to make it there. We'll have to see. Okay, so that's really encouraging and exciting, and it keeps me going with the modeling, which I still have a ton of left to do. This is me unknowingly filming myself, but this is what it looks like when you're creating a 3D model early morning before work every day. Just modeling a little bit here and a little bit there. At some point in my modeling process, I get to a point where I think I need more inspiration and more reference images. So I think it's time to call in my Harry Potter nerd consultant, my 16-year-old son. We fired up the Xbox and we played some Hogwarts Legacy.
No.
This made me realize two things. First, video game companies make crazy awesome 3D recreations. The Hogwarts in this video game is amazing. Interior spaces, exterior spaces, all created with an amazing amount of fidelity and visual quality. Just mind-blowing how much work it is and how awesome the result is. But also it made me realize this model and my reference don't match. That tells me that people have different interpretations of Hogwarts. So I really just need to capture the essence in my own way, because maybe there's no perfectly accurate recreation out there. That means that I can take a little bit of liberties, and this makes me feel more comfortable about not being perfectly accurate in every aspect of my model. The goal is when people look at it, they say, "Oh, sick, that's Hogwarts, that looks awesome." And I know there's going to be some of you in the comments looking at things like, "That's not right." And my answer to that is, yeah, I don't care. So as you can see, I'm still modeling stuff, and I'm not even approaching the finish line yet. But at some point I had a revelation. I thought, dude, you know what would make this so easy? Booleans! And then I was just hitting myself for not realizing this earlier, because of course Booleans would make this super easy. I've got these round towers and I need to cut out a bunch of window shapes from them. Booleans can do that super easily. Why haven't I been using Booleans? Well, because Booleans have traditionally sucked in 3ds Max. They mess up all my geometry and make it kind of unworkable after the Boolean occurs. But I remembered they came out with new Boolean stuff for 2024. I just haven't updated yet because I'm lazy. So I took the time to install 2024. I made myself a new UI. I got everything up and running. Took me several hours to get this working. That's one of the reasons why I had avoided it. But this ended up being a game changer. Booleans were the answer to how to model all this stuff easily and quickly. And you'll see moving forward, I'm going to use Booleans a bunch just to cut out the shapes of windows out of my basic masses that I already have. Huge difference, huge increase in speed. Thank you Autodesk for 3ds Max 2024 with the Boolean tools, which are not destructive anymore. It's great. I love them. Thumbs up from me. Hopefully this change will give me the energy I need to plow through this modeling stuff, because there is still a ton to do. Oh, and some exciting news. I also jumped into V-Ray Cosmos, which is just the material and object library that comes free with V-Ray. And I put on some basic materials with some slight adjustments, but added some basic materials to the model so that I can get excited about previews and something to relieve the pain of endless modeling. I think the overall look is coming along nicely. So this project is all about the details, and really any good 3D project is all about the details. Details equal realism, but they take time. And a lot of times with these kind of projects, or really when you think about what makes an awesome project versus a basic one, it's the amount of time and detail the artist is willing to put into that. So a lot of people have the skills, not everyone has the patience. And put me in the group of people that struggle with the patience part. Not my strong suit. But I really had to buckle down and model. And booleans really helped. They did. They made it way easier. Not sure how I would have done this without them. I probably would have gone crazy. But anyway, here's a little montage of me focusing on modeling. In all seriousness, though, I did eventually get to a point where I thought, okay, let's take a break. Let's work on some of the other aspects of this project that I know I'm going to have to do. And that will, A, give me a mental break from modeling, but also get me excited by giving me a better glimpse into what this project might end up looking like. So I took a break to do an essential task of every video, and that is design and create a thumbnail. Since my model was looking pretty cool, I kind of turned it into a miniature physical model looking thing. It's a clay model, and I thought it actually looked really cool. So I explored it a little further, spit out some renderings of it, took it into Photoshop, and started developing a thumbnail with it because I thought it was engaging. What do you think? And obviously the model's not done yet, but again, I'm keeping myself interested. So I rendered it out as a clay rendering, got the lighting all right, put it into Photoshop, did some adjustments, used some Z-Depth channels to add some interest, make it pop a little bit, added a LUTs and some color grading. Anyway, what do you guys think? I mean, you're here, so it was good enough for you to click on. The funny thing is that to get this looking correct, I had to go in and correct a bunch of the windows I'd cut out because some of the geometry had gotten messed up. And as I was doing it, it was extremely tedious. And I thought, wait a minute, this is necessary for V-Ray, because in V-Ray I always make transparent windows where you can see through to an interior a little bit and actually light the interiors. But am I actually going to do that in the game engine? I mean, I'll probably just have glowing textures in there for windows, and they won't be see-through at all. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure that all out when I get to the game engine. But again, this is looking pretty cool. Am I ever gonna get there? Hopefully soon. But it just kind of goes to show that there's two different mindsets for rendering in V-Ray with photorealism versus setting everything up for a game engine. So I'm doing all this now. Some of it will surely need to be adjusted if and when I make it into Unreal Engine finally. Okay, it's future me here, and spoiler alert, this does make it into Unreal Engine, and it looks pretty awesome. So full disclaimer, I don't even know if the thumbnail you just saw me creating is gonna make it to be the final thumbnail, because the stuff that I'm getting out of Unreal Engine is so good. So stay tuned to watch that. And if one of those ends up being a thumbnail instead, I'm sorry for the segment I just made you watch, but it's still interesting to see how things work in V-Ray 2, I hope. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm just saying, the Unreal Engine stuff looks pretty awesome as well. But let's not get too far ahead. Let's get back to the process. Speaking of Unreal Engine, I think it's time that I make some materials that will work better when it's time to go there. So I took the time to make some basic maps in Photoshop that will work for some stained glass window materials. And it's nothing crazy, just some basic maps. You can see I made the basic diamond pattern, and I'm going to turn that into an actual fill pattern that can be used in Photoshop. And then I'm just going to fill it in with some stained glass colors and textures. And then eventually I'll make some bump maps and some normal maps of it, so that later on in Unreal Engine I can transfer these in perfectly and use them as PBR textures. There's some other textures in the scene that I would love to make better too. But the fact is, a lot of the basic textures I've made for V-Ray should transfer using Datasmith when I put this all into Unreal. So I'll wait till then to see what needs to be adjusted and what doesn't. See how the translation works, see what new materials I need to make, all that. This one I know I'm going to need, because like I said, I think I'm just going to have these textures to create all the glowing windows in Unreal Engine. Okay, now is the time that I humbly ask that if you have found any of this interesting, or if you think I've earned it, please subscribe to my channel, like the video. That would mean a lot to me, and it keeps me going. I love doing these kind of explorations. I plan on doing a lot more explorations with this project even after I'm done with this video, and I'm always exploring new software, new projects. If you're into that sort of thing, subscribe. And if you need to learn anything about the software that I use, check out my courses in the links below. Back to the video. This will come as a shock to no one, but I didn't last long on modeling after this. Once I had my new materials and went in and assigned all my new materials to the proper objects, I was ready to quote-unquote test it in Unreal Engine and make sure it was working. So that's what I did. I exported it to a Datasmith file and I brought it into Unreal to see how it was going. And let's just say I didn't really get back to the 3ds Max part after that. Well, I did eventually. I finished up the model. But from here on out, I'm just on Unreal Engine, going to town, making this thing look cool. Because working in Unreal Engine is super fun. So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing here is like cleaning up materials that came in from V-Ray via Datasmith. They come in kind of overly complicated sometimes, and sometimes the Megascans one will just look better anyway. So I just assign some of those to override some of my V-Ray materials. I got to get my mapping right. I got to get all the material assignments right. I create some of my own materials, like for my window, because the V-Ray ones come in overly complicated. So I just simplify them, make my own. I purchased some textures and created them in Unreal Engine and assigned them around, like my main stone, for example. I redid that eventually. Then it's a matter of getting the lighting right. It's a matter of making sure all the imports worked properly. Some of my areas I just could not get looking right, and I assumed it was normals, but it wasn't. It was something with my material. I don't know. But then, of course, Megascans is huge on this kind of project because I got to build up my environment and the rocky cliffs and build forests and build all sorts of surrounding stuff if I'm going to have a cinematic view of this thing. And Megascans is super clutch for that kind of stuff, and it looks so good. I had to put in some water for the Black Lake. And like I said, working in Unreal Engine in real time in general is so fun, especially when it goes to getting my mood looking right and the lighting and the fog and all that kind of stuff. So good. Megascans is great. All this is just really fun. It feels like creating and sketching, but in photorealistic 3D. So a lot of this is just me continuing to set up my mega scans how I want it, set up all my materials how I want it, even setting up my lighting how I want it, getting the castle part all looking good before I still start building some surrounding environment more. And this of course inspired me to want to set up some camera shots and see if I can start generating some semi-final images, or at least get an idea of what those final images might look like. The problem is, even with my materials and everything placed like it needed to be, I couldn't really get it to look right. And I struggled with Unreal Engine settings, because there's a lot of settings, and I just couldn't quite get the look and feel that I wanted. But here's a look at what I did get. Okay, I need to take a break from finished images for now and flush out some of my scene more. A good way to do that is with landscaping, and of course, Unreal Engine has fantastic landscaping tools where I can just bring in the amazing Megascans trees and just start painting them around my scene on my rocky cliffs and in all the places that I want them. I also took the time to add some more Megascans detail just because it looks so great, and adding this super realistic detail just adds a ton of realism really easily to my Unreal Engine scene. So more rocks, more plants, better transitions from cliffs to water. Painting in trees, painting in shrubs. Then of course I needed to make an actual landscape object and sculpt it a little bit to make the lake appear and rise up some mountains around the castle. Basic Unreal Engine 5 landscape functions, which are great. Painted trees all around to create the forest. And then brought in some free mountains that I got from the Unreal Engine Marketplace for some background context. Fog's still not working how I want it. Okay, so I have to show you how this is going because it's turning out awesome. You've seen that I, of course, got sick of modeling and started taking it into Unreal as a test to see if it worked, and then I got carried away. I keep going, polishing up the materials, adding in some Megascan stuff, adding detail and everything. But I wasn't really liking the way that it was looking, like the mood and the feel of the scene yet. And mostly it came down to I wasn't getting my fog to work properly. So working well for providing some atmospheric depth and perspective, but not much more than that. So I went to the Unreal Engine Asset Marketplace and bought Easy Fog. Shout out to the William Foucher YouTube channel. Excellent stuff. Check it out. But he made the Easy Fog plugin or package, and I added that to the scene, started getting some customized fog look going on. I also ditched my HDRI so that I could have more control using the sky atmosphere and a direct light and have that all kind of mesh together and make it any time of day I want. Anyway, long story short, it's finally starting to look the way that I want. It's far from done, but check this out. Yeah, this is looking pretty cool. Like I said, it's not done or anything. Like there's more modeling, more material stuff, more Megascans to add, all that, but I'm loving the look of this. This looks super cool. I've just got a little clip that I exported, really fast clip, not high settings at all. But check it out. Love the mood. So these were my tests, and this is super promising. I am liking the way this looks a lot. Yes, the fog is really cool. Can animate it a little bit. Can work on some of my lighting, some of my textures. Obviously the model. I have to go back and model stuff still. freaking modeling. But the finished product is going to be super cool. This is a little taste. Love it. Very excited about the direction this is going. And it's finally starting to have that look and feel that I really wanted. Okay, now that I basically have it dialed in how I want it to look, it's kind of like my proof of concept. Like, okay, I'm going to continue with this, and I'm confident that the finished product is going to look awesome. Now all I have to do is go in and polish everything. Make all the fog look exactly how I want. Make all the mega scans look exactly how I want. The lighting, the materials, everything. But my overall look is dialed in pretty much. Then, of course, I have to go back and update the model, re-import it, make sure everything is covered, especially the parts that I see prominently. Okay, but it's just a matter of doing the work now, and we are well on our way. So you can see I'm dialing in that fog just exactly how I want it. I dial in my water exactly how I want it. And once I'm there, then I start setting up my camera shots. And looking through the camera, setting up the aspect ratios I want and saying, yeah, everything in this scene looks solid. Then, of course, I use the level sequencer to animate the cameras, make sure everything looks good throughout the animation. And this is really the fun part. This is where you can just virtually explore around your scene and look for the perfect camera shot, mess with the depth of field, mess with the aspect ratios, mess with the lighting or the post-processing for that particular camera until you get exactly the look you want. This part is so fun, and this is what makes real-time so great to work in. Composing your shots, basically designing your shots on the fly, is an awesome thing to be able to do. For that reason, I love having this project in Unreal Engine. Okay, it's true. Unreal Engine has been amazing. And once I got there, I never looked back. It did the job very well. But I don't want to forget about V-Ray. I loved my V-Ray rendering where I was working on that thumbnail. You probably know by now that it didn't win out. At least by the time you're watching this, I think it probably will have lost out already to the Unreal Engine thumbnail. I did some A/B testing and the Unreal Engine kept winning. But I still think my V-Ray rendering was cool. I had to go back into 3ds Max and update my entire model to get it totally finished out, but I took the time to render out my V-Ray scene again that I was planning on using for a thumbnail, and I still think it's cool. You guys let me know. But I'm just saying, V-Ray was instrumental in this whole process, and of course 3ds Max. With the modeling tools, the booleans were huge. So it isn't just Unreal Engine doing the work here. There's a lot of different things coming together, and I want to acknowledge that because, yeah, I love all these programs, and they all performed very well their specific task. Okay, we have arrived at that time. The model's done. It is re-imported into Unreal Engine. All I need to do is make sure all my material assignments are correct, make sure everything's looking good, and then run it through my level sequence again and generate some animations with the movie render queue. As hopefully you can see here, I think it's looking pretty awesome, so I'm confident that when I generate the movies, it's gonna look good. So I'm super excited about how this is turning out, and I am extremely thankful for you following along on this absolute epic journey, this 3D odyssey, and super glad you followed along. I hope you learned something, gathered something from it, and enjoyed watching the process, and I hope you like the finished result. So if you do, please subscribe. I try to give useful information, and of course I will have tons more videos about this project and about Unreal Engine coming up, and about V-Ray, 3ds Max, all that stuff. So please subscribe if you're into that sort of thing, and if you think my information is useful. Like the video, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments, as always. And if you need to learn any of the things you've seen in this course, check out the links below. I have courses for all of this stuff, and they are currently discounted for YouTube viewers. So it's time to check out the final results. Thank you for coming along with me. Here you go. Okay, thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. A few stats about it before I go. I estimate I spent about 30 hours on this project overall. It took about 55 minutes to render on my computer. I have a GeForce RTX 2080 Ti video card that did the heavy lifting. Nothing crazy. And it took me about 3 weeks on and off to do the project in my free time. So yeah, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure and let me know in the comments what else you would like to see me do with this Unreal Engine project. Maybe I will make it so we can do some walkarounds in there. Maybe we can add some interactions to it. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see. If you'd like me to dig into something deeper that I showed here in the video. Or let me know what else you'd like to see me recreate. I'd love to do another one of these. But to see any of that, you're going to have to subscribe. So make sure and do that. Check out the courses if you need to learn any stuff about any of the software shown. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in my next video.